My name is Molly. Welcome to my series about anyone can sing, the basics of singing simplified. The purpose of this program is to make singing accessible to anyone and to make it a little bit less scientific and more about the simplicity and the fun, because my philosophy is that anyone can and should sing. So, having said that, let's get going to learn a new skill, singing. So before you do any singing, let's get ourselves ready to go. The first thing you need to do before we talk about breathing, which I'm sure you may have heard a thing or two about, we'll get to that, is before we breathe, we have to get the body ready to take the perfect breath. Or I should say, the ideal breath. So let's try an experiment to show you how much your balance in singing really matters. Now you can't see my feet right now, but you're going to have to take my word for it. I am sitting with wide feet. Know that you can do all of these exercises either seated or standing. It's all up to you. So, I am seated with my feet wider than shoulder width apart, and I'm just going to sing a simple scale. Na 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 na. Now, I thought it sounded and felt okay, but it didn't really feel as strong as it could. So now I'm just going to change one thing. Now, my feet are shoulder width apart, and my toes are pointed straight ahead to you. I'm going to sing the very same scale, and that's all I changed. Na 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 na. Ooh, I thought that felt a lot stronger. Try it out right now and see what you think. Hopefully what you're feeling when you compare and contrast is that the second option feels a lot stronger. It should. Why? Because just by standing with your feet or sitting with your feet shoulder width apart and having those toes pointed straight ahead, you are actually activating your core muscles, and you'll learn later on why that's important. Core equals strength. But for now, let's move on to the breath and simplify it for you. So here's the thing. You have probably run into, perhaps at this point, a few instructional videos anywhere else, or other teachers, choir directors, etc., that have talked to you about breath. And probably you, like many other vocal students out there, have heard something about the diaphragm. So, let's just put something to rest right now. You can't control your diaphragm muscle. So they mean well when they tell you to breathe from the diaphragm, but there's really nothing you can do about it. The diaphragm muscle is what we call an involuntary muscle. It is just going to rise and fall on its own just because you are inhaling and exhaling. Here's what you can focus on. And like I said, this is all very simple. Why don't you just put your hands on your lower stomach and just let it do what it's going to do? You are just making sure you're not holding on to anything. So that's the first way to get started, is just relax your breath low. This is how we're born breathing, believe it or not. If you watch a baby sleeping, a puppy or a cat, its belly is rising and falling. So it's really not like you're learning anything new here when it comes to breathing and singing. You're breathing anyway. You're just making an adjustment. You're bringing it back down to where it was at the beginning. It really is that simple. So how about the amount of air? That's a big question a lot of you have. Here's how you can practice that. When you get a chance, do grab a straw. It's been taught this way for hundreds of years, and will hopefully be taught hundreds more. What do you notice as you're breathing through the straw? Is that it is exactly where I was just explaining the breath is. Low on the belly. They mean well when they say the diaphragm, really, because the diaphragm is low. But really, it's about letting that belly just kind of move. Not holding on to your breath. That's the key thing, is you want to think of yourself as a breath machine. breath in, breath out. One of the biggest problems you may run into is thinking about it too much. It's here. It's here. If you're always wondering, am I doing this right? Is my rib cage doing this? Is the diaphragm doing this or that? Your body's going to be that much more tense. So let's try some things out going forward. And just let things happen. Bring it back down to nature. Simplify. It is this simple. It's not a lot of intake of breath. In fact, it's a fairly short inhale and a longer exhale. That's just the way it is. No need to really question it. That's just what singing is. We're the ones that make it complicated. So my homework for you is find that straw and keep your breath low. Forget anything you ever heard about the diaphragm. It's just gonna do its thing. You can't control it. Sorry. Going forward, let's make it simple. The goal is to not hold on to anything. Breath in, breath out. Make it very cyclical. So I have another thing that may help you in unlocking your breath. And of course, you can sing with it too, so that you get the voice and the breath talking to each other, and everything kind of moving together. See, the voice is going to follow what the rest of the body does, good or bad. And by having this fluid motion going on, and look, it's roughly the size of us, there's that correlation going on. You're going to expand with the sphere. It's also good for eliminating nervousness. So it's twofold. And nerves are also another reason why our breath is locked. One final thought on the singer's breath, because it is that simple. Another question teachers get is, do I inhale through my nose or my mouth? My response is try both, see what works for you. However, having said that, we're just going to do a little compare and contrast right now. That was a nasal inhalation. And that, of course, was a breath through the mouth. I personally feel that if I breathe through the mouth, I get more air and I get it quicker. So, therefore, I choose to habitually breathe through my mouth. However, there are some people, some singers that are big into yoga, and because yoga is big on nasal inhalation, they're used to that. Their body goes there. There's not a right or wrong. Do what is comfortable for you. The reason why, fun fact, that nasal inhalation was taught in the first place is because once upon a time, voice teachers worked in very cold rooms when there was no heating, no electricity, and they didn't want all that cold air to hit the back of their students' throats because it would harm them. But now you have the choice. Do what is comfortable for you. So that's it. That is your overview on the singer's breath. Yes, it really is that simple. So the takeaway is grab a couple of fun gadgets, a straw, and if you can, a sphere. Breathe with it. And move with it. It all starts here. We simplify, we relax. Your body and then the breath follow suit. Thank you so much for joining me.